she saved me. She walked in this morning and she's like, this is all you have to do. And she showed me the buttons and I was playing it cool, but deep down I was a little bit like, I'd be in so much trouble if if you weren't around today. Oh, man.
I met Hughes. He's a good man. I like him.
He's a funny dude.
Yeah.
He's a funny dude. I met him at a gig. I don't even know if you know that I do a heap of stand-up comedy. Yeah, I think I might have told you last time. But I met him at a gig 6 months ago.
Yeah.
And I was pretty nervous because I kind of watched him since I was a kid and we're on the lineup and I wanted him to think I was funny and then I wanted like the green room chat to be good.
Yeah.
And so I was a bit nervous. And I was sitting there and all of a sudden he rocked up and I was like, hey, mate, how you going? He's like, oh, dude, the fucking traffic was doing my head. And as soon as he started, I was like, we're going to be fine.
Yeah.
Like anyone who can just come into a conversation with me and bitch about traffic, I go, we're going to be
just... I just went over the fucking Westgate Bridge and back. Fuck, mate. Like, I'm following my GPS. It said 20 minutes. And then all of a sudden I'm on the Westgate because I'm following it. And then it said 30 minutes. I'm like, fuck. So I had to go over and then come back.
Oh, you missed the turn? Or
no, I followed it, but it took me the wrong way. I was like, fuck. Anyway.
Oh, I live an hour and a half out of town. I live in, so Point Lonsdale. It's out. Yeah, you go to Geelong and then just keep driving for another half an hour. And I mean, I do this drive all the time just because this is where the gigs are at.
Yeah.
But the time that I came in this morning, I had to nail it because if you leave where I'm at like 8, it's going to take you 2.5 hours and I wasn't going to get to meet you. And so I dropped my kid off at kinder, played with him for 20 minutes and then I was like, all right, let's rock and roll. So I got here and they're like, what are you doing, mate? You're an hour and a half early. But so you were saying, you got your family, your dad's down here.
Yeah, we're not recording yet, are we?
We are recording. Are you happy to roll into it?
Yeah, my dad's down here. I was born down here, 1973, nearly 52. And grew up here. Where did I grow up? I grew up in near Frankston in a place called Seaford. Also Caulfield and Eltham. My parents used to have the Eltham Barrel, which is probably before your time.
A little bit. You know that it's weird when you get to. I'm 38, and it's kind of. I saw on Google last night you're 52, and I was like, it's weird when you hit 38. I got plenty of mates your age now.
Yeah,
I got plenty of mates in their 40s. It's a strange kind of headspace, as you know, because I remember clearly when my mum turned 40. I was 10, standing at the market in Perth, and I was looking at it. I was like, I can't believe I've got a 40-year-old mum. And now I catch myself. I go, I can't believe I've got 52-year-old mates. It's just, it's a weird thing to. I don't know. I don't get it.
I mean, I surf with guys in their mid-60s, early 70s, maybe even mid-70s, and it's great. And I'm just grateful, happy, healthy. I can move my body, my mind still works, my brain still works.
Yeah.
Just grateful for every fucking day.
As much as Google hates to admit that's true, I typed in your name and then news stories just to see what came up. And it's so fun. I think I did the same thing before I spoke to you last time. It's just, I don't know, it's a certain level of, is it like self-confidence or just being able to let go? Because they still love having a crack. There's not many articles at the moment that aren't conspiracy theorists, that aren't vaccine skeptic, that aren't, I don't know. I laughed the other day because I saw your Instagram post about how it was 8 years ago that bloke from A Current Affair wrote that story about you where like you're real dangerous to the health word because you were
promoting organic food.
Yeah. It's like, I don't understand. It's, I'm not going to go too far down that rabbit hole because we spoke about it last time, but it does trip me out, man.
The funniest thing, I think the Project did a story, A Current Affair did multiple stories, and other outlets did stories. And the most bizarre thing of it all is the reporter will be there with, this is what Pete Evans promotes. And they'll have a countertop or a kitchen bench full of the most vibrant, beautiful food you've ever seen, right? Beautiful seafood, wonderful meat, colourful organic vegetables and fruits and nuts and seeds and organic eggs. And they're like, this is extreme. This is dangerous for people to eat this way because there's no food in packets. There's no, dodgy vegetable oils. There's no muesli bars. There's no packet cereal. There's no tubs of ice cream. And they're standing there straight-faced going, this is one of the most dangerous people on the face of the planet. Please do not listen to him because you will end up either sick, dead, or extremely damaged from eating this food. And you sit there like, wow, like just the, I don't want to use the word insanity because it's just ridiculous. Like when you really think about it.
It kind of is insanity.
Well, it is, but I mean, I've been in this game for so long that you pretty soon work out what it is, what that game is. And I'll give you a great example. When I used to do the promotional tour for the TV shows I was associated with. I'd go on the breakfast radio shows or the breakfast TV shows. And the breakfast radio shows were always the most interesting for me. The Mick Malloys and that type of thing, the comedians, you know. And the level of the type of conversation that you were allowed to have was you actually weren't allowed to have an intelligent conversation. They just stopped you there and there. And my game was, can I get to that point where I actually have a deep conversation, right? Because I think it's important, especially health and nutrition, I think is an important thing, especially with so much of the population on pharmaceuticals, sick, mental health issues. Like, let's have a proper talk about this, you know. And they just really didn't want to go there. And interestingly enough, pretty much the only people that allowed that conversation was Kyle and Jackie O. Like, of all the people, the ones that you actually thought wouldn't go there, they actually went there multiple times with me. And I remember during COVID, they gave me 15 minutes of uninterrupted just me going. And after the first minute, because I'm so used to getting shut down by those times, and they left the door open. I was like, oh, I'm going to go for another minute. And they left the door open. Oh, I'm just going. And I talked about everything during COVID. And it was really interesting, and I'm grateful for that experience. I'm grateful for them to not shut it down straight away. But funnily enough, within the week, they both had a very pro-vaccine stance after that interview.
I vaguely remember this. They do have a reputation for being... Actually, it's funny you bring them up because as I was driving over the Westgate Bridge, I don't know which way you were coming from.
Well, I went both ways.
Oh, that's right. Well, I saw a massive... I can't remember the phrase they had on it. I saw a massive Kyle and Jackie O thing, and it was essentially saying, like, tune into the chaos. Like, that's kind of the reputation they have. Like, they touch on some more taboo subjects that... But it sounds like it got shut down pretty quick. So I don't know. I don't understand the world, obviously, as well as you do, that mainstream media world. But it does seem there's certain people who can dip their toes a little further into the water than what like a Mick Malloy or someone might be able to.
Well, here's the interesting thing. When I was on Mick Malloy, like, must have been 10 years ago, Mick, Eddie Maguire, and I think a footy player, I forget his name. But we're talking about, Mick was giving me a hard time about something. And I'm like, by eating this way, a ketogenic ancestral diet, you can actually reverse type 2 diabetes. And considering that there's 2 million people in this country, nearly 10% of the population that are either diabetic or pre-diabetic, this is pretty powerful stuff. Yeah. And he goes, you can't reverse type 2 diabetes. Like he said, and I'm like, you can. We've proven it over and over, not myself, even though there's anecdotal evidence of people adopting what I've taught them that has come from doctors, amazing doctors from all around the world that have actually got the formula or the blueprint and the practicality with the science to back it up. A low carbohydrate diet lowers your blood sugar levels. Type 2 diabetes, I'm not talking about type 1 diabetes here, but type 2 diabetes can be definitely prevented, stopped in its tracks, and put into remission or reverse. So you no longer have the diagnosis. And Vic's just like, you're wrong. I'm like, mate, no. You just haven't cottoned on to the information because maybe what you're listening to is outdated information. So it's been a wonderful journey. But going back to the initial point of this is the game, so to speak, is to... They believe they've got to give the audience what they want and where they're at. And I think that's going to be the downfall of modern mainstream media. Yeah. Because it's worked for a period of time. And what we're witnessing now is the ratings decline. new voices popping up. And whether you like them or not, Joe Rogan, Tucker Carlson, Theo Von, all of these different people with different platforms are outperforming these traditional outlets. Megyn Kelly, for instance, is another one in the States. And whatever your political view, it regardless of that, what we're witnessing is a transformation of the old guard into something new. And I think it's really fascinating. People like Jordan Peterson, they've got massive followings now, and they're sharing a message. It was interesting. I was talking to a aged care worker this week who listens to Jordan Peterson, and we're having this discussion. He's like, "Tell me more about ancestral diets and ketogenic." I'm like, "Fuck, we've been talking about this for 15 years," but because he listens to Jordan Peterson, he's interested. And I was talking about the people that I've interviewed that are Alzheimer's experts, people like Dr. Dale Bredesen, who believes, he wrote a book called The End of Alzheimer's.
That's right.
And he believes that Alzheimer's can be pretty much 100% prevented. And if you follow certain protocols, you can stop it in its track for a large percentage of people. And he's got clinical trials to prove that it can be, in some cases or a lot of cases, actually reversed.
Yeah.
It's like, why is this not being spoken about in mainstream media at the moment when we have such a huge issue with dementia and Alzheimer's?
Yeah, it's funny you bring it up. I was down in Gippsland on the weekend. I got an 83-year-old granddad who's beat up bad with it. Like he's I walked in, he introduced himself to me. I go, "Mate, like it's so wild," but he does it. He's so like, you shouldn't use the word funny, but there's no other way to explain it. Like he'll go, "Hey, how you going, Bill?" They go, "Hey, Bill, I'm your grandson, mate, Tyson." And he's like, "Hey, Tyson, how you going?" And then my wife walks in behind me, goes, "Not bad," like this. And then 5 seconds later, he's going, "Bill, I'm Bill. Who we got here?" I'm like, "Hey." But it's, I went away and this is a rabbit hole that interests me. Team Sherzai, the doctors, Team Sherzai, I think their names are, they're a husband and wife couple in the States, and they've been on sort of Rich Roll and Joe Rogan, and they've done the rounds a little bit. And one of the big things that they speak about is exactly what you just said about how preventable this particular disease is for the most part, based on like a whole variety of things. But I've kind of gone down that rabbit hole because I look at, so Bill, my granddad, his dad had it. So my dad's going, "Hey, buckle up, mate. Here we go." Like, I don't know. I'm not convinced just yet. And I hear a lot of really positive stories like what you just brought up about how the fact it doesn't have to just predict and predestine what your future's going to look like. Like there's some pretty solid lifestyle changes you can make, which sort of backs you up fairly well.
Yeah, and that's a whole another topic about epigenetics. And basically we can turn on and off our genes, just because certain family members have had a predisposition to a certain illness. What a lot of people will have you believe is that's your destiny.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be, lifestyle changes, whether it be diet, physical activity, how you live your life and how you think and your belief system. So if you have the belief that, "Oh, fuck, it's in my family tree, I'm destined for this, I better make the most of it now, before that happens," because people get into these belief patterns. And if we can change our beliefs, we can change our life, and that's something that's very, it's not something that can be covered in a one sentence statement, because the ultimate question is, who am I? And I've mentioned this before on certain podcasts. So I think that's the ultimate question that we ask ourselves. Where did I pick up my beliefs from? Is it from my parents? Who was more dominant in my family, my mother or my father, and which belief patterns, both potentially if you view them from a perspective of positive or negative, have I inherited or adopted from them? Which ones have I adopted or inherited or been imprinted on from my culture, from where I live geographically, or my ancestral heritage, where I come from, whether different parts of the world, and then from society.
Yeah.
And we witnessed that through COVID. All right. That was a great example of people wanting to fit in, because the narrative was you better toe the line to keep grandma safe, because if you don't, you're a bad person. So you better mask up, you better take this medicine. I don't want to say medicine, you better take this product.
Yeah.
And you better social distance. And we'll tell you what to do to be a good citizen. And fast forward 5 years, and the evidence is out that all of that information was completely false. And I look back on that time and think, you know, it was a challenging time for a lot of people in so many respects. People that couldn't see their loved ones in aged care homes, or go to funerals, or have their wedding and have their friends and family there. Or the list goes on, or travel overseas unless you took a shot or a product from a pharmaceutical company. So, and then obviously challenges with family dynamics. Some were for it, some were against it. What happened there? And then neighbours, work colleagues, and all of this sort of. So it was a challenging time for a lot of people.
Yeah.
You know, no matter what your viewpoint or perspective was. And I think now, fast forward 4 or 5 years later, I think a lot more people now are potentially open to questioning if this ever occurs again, whether it be a health emergency, or whether it be some other type of imposed, I want to be careful with my words here, but where we're told what we should be doing by somebody else. Because I'm all for freedom of an individual's will. And I feel like because of what we've been through, I think in the future and also present now, I think people will have a greater understanding of what that means to have personal freedom.
Yeah, it's such a good point. I was thinking on the drive down. It's funny because I've never really considered myself a real, like I'm not like a controversial guy by nature. I'm sort of
Either am I.
nah.
Right.
No. Like I honestly, for me, like whatever your political beliefs doesn't stop. Like I've got so many people who think I'm a nut job politically, and I think they're a nut job politically, and somehow we just leave that conversation on the side, and I can see like the heart, like that. If you want to boil everything down, maybe this conversation, they would say, hey, I just want what's best for people. And I'm like, that's what I want. Can we at least agree that we've got the same goal? And I don't care if you love or hate Joe Rogan, or love or hate Donald Trump, or whatever. Like you can still, we can still get along just great. But it was interesting during that COVID lockdown time where it became such a, I guess it was so divisive because it had such a strong impact on what you could and couldn't do. And the media was so quick to paint people like yourself and myself, probably worse for you because you had a much bigger profile, paint you as a nut job just for asking any questions. And that was where I kind of had this realization. I'm like, okay, like I prefer to avoid conflict, but when I'm in it, I'm kind of comfortable once I'm there.
Yeah.
Like once people would started throwing names and things like that, and I got used to the fact that it was going to happen. And sure, it was like 15 of my mates from comedy. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't half of Australia talking about that bloke in the midst of his MKR downfall or whatever it was they wanted to say. But I say all that like to ask the question because you'd sort of been in the mainstream world for quite a while. Had you sort of just kept your mouth shut for a while? Like, or were you in a similar boat to me where you were sort of happy-go-lucky and nothing was, for example, like, I'd never really asked a question of a health expert up until COVID.
Yeah.
If someone says the science says this, I went, oh, okay. Yep, I didn't realize. And then that happened. I was like, but there's two doctors who seem equally qualified saying opposite things. And if these guys are arguing, like, I'm trying to raise 2 kids, have a wife, go for a run. Like, when am I going to get a chance to research it all? So I don't know. It was just, how did you sort of navigate that world? And was that like a more recent thing for you where you're like, no, I'm actually going to put my foot down here a little more? I guess the diet thing was your entry into it to a degree, was it?
Yeah, 100% the dietary information. That was such an invitation for me to go through and understand who I am, if that makes sense. Because what that allowed me to experience was ridicule and criticism on a large level. And I mean, I was already privy to that and had experienced it on a very smaller level by being a public profile. Yeah. People, I'll never forget when I took over, before My Kitchen Rules, I hosted Channel 9's daily cooking show called Fresh.
Yeah.
And I did that for 2 years. Jeff Jantz was the celebrity cook before I was on there, or celebrity chef before. He left the program, so they auditioned for somebody to come on, and I got the job. And I filmed over 400 episodes in 2 years. It was a daily cooking show, and we'd film 5 episodes in a day each week. It was great experience for me. And I'll never forget the first public event I did at a shopping centre or something, cooking at Woolworths or somewhere. And this woman came up to me and she goes, "You're not as good as Jeff was. I just want you to know that. I like Jeff a lot more than I like you." I went, "Wonderful. I'm so grateful that you told me that." "How are you?"
Yeah.
Like,
what are you doing?
It wasn't even like, "Hi, how are you?" or "I'm so-and-so, nice to meet you." It was just, "I don't like you as much as the other bloke."
It sounds like every audience member at most of my comedy shows.
And I'll never forget that. I was just like, wow, okay. So I've stepped into this public persona where people will judge me, and they will openly, not just keyboard warriors, they will openly come up to me and tell me that they don't like me or I'm not as good as somebody else. So that was a wonderful experience to learn from. Can I deal with this and stay grounded and stay centered, or will I let this rattle me, right? And I see all of these experiences as invitations to go in and can I do this? Can I deal with this criticism? And I can. I worked that out pretty quickly, and so it started building from there. So I had my first sort of criticism, and even before that, before I was on television and a public persona, I owned restaurants, and I would cook for people, and people would send back their meals if they weren't happy. And it was fascinating because, and this was one of the greatest things that I ever learned was, I'll give a best example or analogy. I would cook a pasta dish in one pan for 2 different guests because they've ordered the same thing, and would go out to the restaurant, completely the same. One person would come back and say, "That's the best dish I've ever eaten in my life." And the other person would come back and say, "That was too salty for me and I didn't like it." Because you get the feedback from the waiters who would get it from the customers. So what that taught me was people can have different perceptions over the same thing, right? Now, is it their taste buds? Is it the person that they're dining with and they're just in a shitty mood, so everything tastes like shit? They're already in that frame of mind where I'm not happy, so I will find fault wherever I can, whether it's the lights are too bright or the music's too loud or the waiter's being too slow or too fast to take my order, whereas somebody else could be there for a celebration or a surprise dinner and just be in the most beautiful experience of their life where everything tastes fucking delicious, right? You could overcook something or oversalt it and then just be like, "I'm just having a fucking ball." Like, how good's life? I don't care that it took an hour to get my food. I'm just having a great time with my best mate or my partner or my family. Like, life's sweet.
Yeah.
And so that taught me that people can have different experiences with the same environment, whatever it may be. Right? Some people can go to the beach and absolutely love lying on the beach, getting the sun, being hot, sweaty. And other people are like, "Oh, this is too hot for me. I don't like sweating. I don't like the sand." So what is bad? Is it the sun and the beach? Or is it just someone's perception of something? Yeah. So once you sort of earn your stripes in that field of being criticized and also at the same time being celebrated, that was a great dish. It's my favorite restaurant. I'm going to come back. Like, sweet. I fucking hate this restaurant. I'm not going to come back there. I'm going to give you 1 star already. Like you as a comedian on stage, someone will go, "Mate, that was a great set." Another one's like, "Fuck, you didn't hit it tonight, did you, mate?"
For sure. It's usually me saying that the loudest. I'm like, "Yeah, no, you're right. You got me." No, it's so true. It's such a good point. I mean, I had Osher on the podcast 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And he's one of those people that I would say we can both at least agree that our goal for people is good health.
Yeah.
And the directions that we believe we've got to take to get there is wildly different.
Yeah.
And man, like, I don't know if you heard it, but I was sitting down with him, and this is what I love about the podcast. You get a chance to talk to people that you would never otherwise talk to, completely different worldviews, completely different belief systems. And I was literally asking questions, as I do on the podcast, having a chat and asking questions. And kind of, it felt like out of the blue to me. He goes to me, mate, he goes, the nature of your questions are dangerous. And he goes, if you keep up this this line of questioning, he goes, I'm going to end this conversation. And I was in this situation, and I was like, not to say, I was genuinely baffled, because until that point, I was really enjoying it. I was having a great chat with him. I could see that like we were not on the same page. I didn't know a lot about him. I knew him from The Bachelor. I knew his name was Osher, and I was like, hey, it seems like, and I knew he was in the mental health world, which is fine. And so I thought, at the very least, it's going to be an interesting conversation around mental health and blah blah blah. He said that. He goes, mate, if we were in the mainstream media right now, this would not go to air. And I was thinking, yep. Exactly, man. That's why I'll never get a job on the project. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's why I'm never going to be putting in resumes for that. And then it's weird on reflection, because at the very outset of the conversation, I was like, oh, he's bringing a weird attitude here. I said, mate, you happy just to talk? Like, we'll just see where it goes. He goes, it's your podcast, mate. Do what you want, buddy. And I was like, oh, okay. And in my head, I was like, it was a bit, and I was like, you're overthinking it. Anyway, by the end of the podcast, I was like, mate, this is wild. Like, we just butted. I put up a poster saying I did not receive a rose. I feel like that described it best. And then I had a heap of mates going, what was going on there? And then it was strange, because he messaged me saying, I withdraw my consent for that episode to go to air. I said, mate, we've got a month and a half of conversations, me saying, are you happy to talk about this? And you saying, we'll talk about whatever. And you agreeing, your management, blah, blah, blah. The whole conflict seemed to be around like this weird line of questioning, questions they didn't like, approaching dangerous topics. And I only bring up that example because it seems to be like a little bit of a highlight as to not just Australia or Melbourne, but how so many different groups of people view information. Like you mentioned Joe Rogan before. I love him because even though half the guests he has on, or not half, like some guests he have on, I'm like, mate, you're a flog, or you're a muppet, or I disagree. Like, give me the opportunity to decide that. You know, like what Kyle and Jackie O did for you.
Yeah.
Like, give me an opportunity to decide whether Pete Evans is a flog based on what he says, not what the Sydney Morning Herald has to say about him. And I don't know, I just thought it was weird. It's the conflict in my mind at that time seemed to be, okay, we've got mainstream media and the people trying to appease them and please them so they can keep working in that world, and people who are genuinely curious for information. Not to say it's not, but maybe it's like a blind spot. But do you know what I mean? It seems like it's very difficult to have an honest conversation if you feel the need to police and enforce and be thinking about what would
Censor yourself.
Do you know what I mean? Like, it was a wild, it was just a wild experience. I ended the podcast. I was like, that was unbelievable. It was like, he must have felt like he was talking to an alien, and so did I.
And I guess things don't happen by accident. So there was probably something for you to learn from that experience, and dare I say, also for him.
Yeah.
You know, so I don't know what that is. I would never assume what it may be. You know, but when those things arise for me, where I seem to have a potential conflict and I feel a little, oh, fuck.
Yeah.
What is that? Because
that's how I felt, yeah.
My intention is to have a sense of neutrality, or a feeling of neutrality. And neutrality can be a strange word for people to resonate with. But for me, it's, can I be myself in all situations? Can I be myself neutrally in standing on stage in front of 1,000 people, or being on television with 1 million people watching me, or if I'm by myself traveling the world, or alone? Because some people really do not like being alone. Some people really like being alone.
Yeah, yeah.
And one of the greatest teachings I learned years ago is, can you feel grounded and content and neutral in all situations? It doesn't mean that you can't feel excited or feel have the human emotions that go with it, but can you be like bamboo, sort of just flex in all situations by staying grounded in all situations that arise? So for you, if you felt a little weird after or during that conversation. It's like, why? Why do I feel a little out of balance at the moment? Or why did I get triggered by that?
Yeah.
And the answer is there, or obviously, or you might have to dig it a little deep to understand that. And I don't want to speak for Osher, I don't know the man. But perhaps it was an opportunity for both of you to go, okay, maybe I'll never do Osher, maybe I'll never do another podcast like this again, where I'm not prepared for this type of questioning, because I feel safe in this bubble. And I don't want to assume and don't think I'm thinking for it. And it might be the same for you, where you might go, you know what? I want to get to the point where I can feel really good about even if I butt heads with somebody like this. So there's something for me to grow into this.
For sure.
Where I don't have to retreat unless you want to retreat from those types of things because it doesn't gel with you on a deep level.
It's such a strange kind of art form. That's the way because I ended that the other day and I took a few notes. I was like, all right, if I could have that time again, what would I do differently? And I think for me, like the idea of formulating your beliefs on the spot is I don't know, I've realized it's more difficult than I probably ever realized before, because I'll say things, I'm like, actually, I don't even think I agree with what I just said properly. Like, I didn't formulate it well, and he's responding to what I just said, and I was like, actually, I don't blame you for thinking I'm a dickhead, because that's not what I meant either.
Yeah.
But then the other side of that is just learning, like, when do you bite back, and when do you sit back, and and I don't know, I guess it's just the art of conversation. It's one thing I love about this, and I love what you said about just being neutral in many situations, because I'll find... it was funny. I hosted trivia night on a Wednesday night, and I had this thing a couple of weeks ago, because I know a lot of people. So I'll listen to Joe Rogan, and a lot of people who find that out is like, mate, you're a nut job. And I go, no. Like, so these people, legends, absolute legends, they called me out on it. They go, I can't believe you listened to that rubbish. So you're a conspiracy theorist. And I felt my heart rate just go like, boom, boom, boom. I started to like, and then as I started talking, I could feel I was coming at them with like, they're like, what are you? Like a little conversion boy for Joe Rogan? And I was like, that's how I'm coming across. But it is a weird thing to navigate, like that skill set of remaining neutral, even when your emotions want to go in a particular direction. It's so helpful for actually expressing what you really believe or hearing what someone's really saying.
Yeah.
And there's endless, I mean, I've got a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old, and I feel like there's endless opportunities throughout my day to be neutral in chaos.
Yeah.
And every day I go to bed, I'm like, I didn't quite nail it. but I mean, that's the beauty of it. You've got literally every moment of every day to work at it.
Yeah. And it doesn't need to be work. It can be an adventure of fun introspection and discovery, you know, and that's what I love. And, you know, I think people just want to feel safe. And when they're threatened, it can disrupt that feeling of safety, whatever it may be. And, you know, the line of questionings that you gave might have made that fellow feel a little unsafe. And he just wants to feel safe, you know, as we all do. You know, it's human nature. You don't want to be threatened unless you get off on that.
Yeah.
You know, some people love that.
Yeah.
Some people really love to have a debate and have a fight. And it's not for them to be right. It's just that...
I'm married to one of them. Macedonian blood.
That notion of chaos is their safe spot.
Yeah.
Because without the chaos or the distractions or the disruptions or the constant things going on, if people don't have that and they have peace and quiet, right, that can be more unnerving for them than having the hamster wheel constantly going, because they're so used to the hamster wheel. Because if I don't stop all the tops that I'm spinning, if I have to sit by myself, I find that really uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So there always has to be something that I'm against or in conflict with or stressed about, or I'm so busy, I've got this. And for some people, potentially it's the opposite. They want to avoid stress because that makes them feel very stressful.
Yeah.
You know, they want to stay safe, so they will not go to that event or speak in public or go to that destination, travel destination, or voice their opinion on something because, I know that that might attract criticizing comments. So it goes back to that thing, how can you stay neutral or content or grounded and strong in all weather?
Yeah.
Because as a surfer, I go out in all the different conditions. I don't just wait till it's good. And I told my wife the other day, she goes, how was it today? I'm like, I was in training today. Babe.
Yeah.
Like today was challenging out there. But I chose to go out there because I knew that I would learn to deal with unstable conditions where a lot of the other people aren't going to go out in, because it's not glassy and sunny and clean and smooth to go for a surf. It's choppy and it's windy and it's stormy and it's unruly, and it's sort of, sometimes it's dangerous, and sometimes it's not a pleasant experience that you would choose to go out there in those conditions. But for me, when it's like that and I've got the time, like, that's my training, so that I will become even better in those calmer situations. But then when the turbulence comes, I'm conditioned to it. And we're seeing that a lot now with in the biohacking community, in the health space, with ice baths and saunas. You know, it's finding comfort in the discomfort. You know, nobody wants to hop into an ice bath, right? Really, it's challenging. And we teach this at our wellness retreat. We talk about, because my wife and I, we breathwork facilitators, and we have an ice bath and a sauna and a float tank. And we say to our guests, if you can find comfort in the discomfort. So if you go in the ice bath, because some people don't even want to go in the ice bath, it's too stressful for them. And we never force anyone. We're just like, we've got an ice bath here. And people go, how long should I go in there for? I'm like, everybody's different. Some people won't go in there. Some people might go in there for 5 seconds or just put their toes in and that's enough for them. Other people go in there for a couple of minutes. And same with the sauna. Some people don't like getting hot. And we're like, we've got a sauna here. Like, how long should I do? I was like, well, maybe 5, 10, 20 minutes, depending.
Yeah.
You know, use common sense.
Yeah.
But it's about finding the comfort in the discomfort. So when we hop into the ice bath, that first initial response to get out, like, oh, this is too much for me. Can you stay in and breathe maybe for 5 more seconds? Just breathe through that first notion of discomfort. And the metaphor or analogy, I never know which one to use for this. But
me either, so you're in good company.
It's what we say is, it's a great tool to learn for life, finding comfort in the discomfort. So, and there's been books written about this and many podcasts and scientific, I'm very careful when I say scientific studies, but the more we can find that contented space in those positions of discomfort.
Yeah.
When they arise in our personal life, whether it be financial concerns or relationship concerns or health concerns, our family member has fallen sick or they pass away or we lose our job or these upheavals in life that we all go through. How can we better ride those waves of turbulence in our life? So these practices like the ice bath, the sauna, the breath work, it's not comfortable, but we find these moments of clarity and contentment in that discomfort. So that trains us whenever these occurrences happen in our normal life. We can either drop into our breath or we're like, this is uncomfortable for me, but I've been in uncomfortable situations before.
For sure.
I think it's called hormetic stress or induced stress. You know, it's like microdosing stress.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, man, for sure. I really relate to what you said about the surf. Just in regards to, I see that often with stand-up comedy. Like my wife will always laugh. She's like, man, like last night we were driving back from Gippsland. So my mum and dad are in Traralgon. We drove back to Point Lonnie last night. And on the way I said, I go, do you mind if I stop by Melbourne and do a gig? It'll save me coming down like another night this week. And she's like, yeah. She's like, it better be a good one though, because we've got the kids asleep in the car. I was like, babe, it's going to be a ripper. And we got to the bar and she started laughing at me. She's like, you're such a dickhead. I go, what? She saw inside. She saw there was like 7 people sitting there. And I mean, you could only compare it to like the the choppy conditions of the sea. But she gets it. Like she's a legend. Before, when I said I'm married to one of those people, to clarify for everyone wondering if I was being an arsehole, I simply meant the debate. She loves the debate. But one of the things that I appreciate about going to those nights are, like, if you can learn to be on your feet and confident and deliver your points in an awkward, tense, weird kind of environment. It's amazing how well refined you are when you get up in front of an audience who've paid to be there and who want to be there. And it's actually, to bring Husey up again, one thing he's got a reputation for in the comedy world is, despite the fact he sells out theatres all around Australia, he's no stranger to going to an open mic room with 12 people and just practicing something new.
Yeah.
And you go, man, all right, if it's good enough for Husey, like, it's good enough for us. But yeah, it's weird because if you don't take that approach, you can just see it as like a bit of a waste of time, or, you know, a really hard challenge to be in the ice bath or in the sauna. And you go, what's the point of any of this? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But when you approach it with the attitude that you just explained, it's like a little micro dose of training that discomfort. All of a sudden, yeah, when you find yourself in the chaos of something bigger, I guess you're more well equipped.
Yeah. And going back to your initial question an hour ago,
How you going?
I microdose those criticisms for over the last 20 years of being in the public sphere, or coming up to 25 years now in the public sphere. It wasn't just a macro dose, or I didn't take 5 grams of mushrooms in a single setting. You know, like it just.
Sure. What the fuck I think I'm a penguin. Yeah. Yeah, sure.
It was a steady micro dose of criticism, both positive and negative, over a long period of time.
Yeah,
and
that's cool.
And so, yeah, COVID came. I was like, I'm ready for this.
A perfect training ground, man. I saw. I think it was a little while ago now. I don't know if it was like an ongoing thing or it was just a one-time meeting. But I saw you rubbing shoulders with RFK, which was pretty cool. What was that about? Like, how did you get the introduction? What was the meeting?
15 years ago, give or take, my wonderful wife, Nicola, she read a book called Primal Body, Primal Mind. Mm-hmm. And she suggested I read it once she finished it. And it's by a wonderful author called Nora Gagaudis. And it was a book about ancestral diets, ketogenic eating or paleo eating. And it just made so much sense. And I think it's I used to say 15 years ago, I think it's the most important book that's been released for that decade. And in the last 10 years, I say the most important book is The Bitcoin Standard by Safadine Amos.
Yeah.
And I don't say either of those books lightly.
Yeah.
I think they're two of the most important books for humanity at this particular point in time. And so after reading that book, I decided that this was my path, ancestral diets, and to learn as much as I could about this particular philosophy. So I started interviewing people. I ended up making a documentary which ended up on Netflix called The Magic Pill, and a TV series called The Paleo Way, and released 30 cookbooks on the topic, give or take, and still to this day. And the one thing that I didn't know at the time was one of the communities that had adopted this style of eating were parents or families with children with autism. It just kept recurring. I just kept meeting these families and on Facebook pages and social media, just hearing about these wonderful stories of children with autism and the change of diet and what that had led to for that child and for the family. And subsequently, for the parents as well. You know, they went down this rabbit hole to help their children, but then ultimately it helped them as well. You know, their own diet and their own vibrancy and vitality. And so one thing led to another, and it led me to Robert Kennedy Jr. I was like, okay, here's a guy that's working. He set up the Children's Health Defence, which is an organisation that was working very, very closely to support children with autism, vaccine-injured children as well. And so I reached out to him and said, I'd love to interview you. And so we did a podcast. And then,
did you?
Yeah. And then a year later, I was in the States and I said, I'd love to interview you in person and film you. And he invited me to his home in LA.
What?
Just opened the door to this chef from Australia. And I took a film crew there, my director and cameraman, sound person, filmed him. He was the most gracious, beautiful man. And this was about a month or two before COVID happened. And I shared a photo of myself and Bobby, as he's known, on my social media at the time. Just had a great day with Bobby, like what a legend. Because he and his team have been responsible for cleaning up waterways throughout the United States, making the river systems and streams and getting rid of toxic chemicals and making them healthy. You know, like, what a dangerous fucking man. Like, and it was so bizarre because his backstory is like, my wife and I have just been watching Mad Men for the third time.
Great series.
And when you watch Mad Men, it's over 1962 to 1969, and you get to witness in the series JFK and then his assassination. Bobby Kennedy, so Bobby's father. Great storyline in Mad Men with him too, and then his assassination.
Yeah.
So when you look and understand Robert Kennedy Jr.'s life, you know, and I only understand a little part of it, but the first question I asked him when we were together is like, wow, like your family history is I don't even know have the word for it, powerful, but just it's history changing, it's life changing for so many people. That family lineage.
Yeah.
And then what he must have, his life experiences and his belief systems that have come through that as a child, growing up through that, through those tragedies. You know, I can't even fathom it. And then deciding to become a lawyer and an environmental lawyer and taking that path to help the planet and then help people. And then going through, we were talking about, you know, criticism. I don't think there's, maybe Donald Trump and him are maybe two of the most criticised people on the face of the planet.
Yeah.
And so when I got to sit opposite Bobby like this at his home and listen to him talk about his family history and why he does what he does, yeah, it was just such a profound moment for me. And then when I shared the photo, and the next day throughout Australian media, all the headlines was Pete Evans is seen with anti-vaxxer Robert Kennedy Jr. Not Robert Kennedy Jr. who has cleaned up waterways, who has done this, who has helped this, who has achieved this. Like, none of the things he should be celebrated for. And he's not even an anti-vaxxer.
Yeah, I know. That's the wildest part.
and I remember getting a phone call. I was working on a mainstream network, and I got a phone call from them while I was in the States the next day going, we have a problem here of you sharing a photo with Robert Kennedy Jr. I'm like, really?
Yeah.
I said, how come? Like, he is a controversial figure. I'm like, okay, yeah. He's also a beautiful human being.
Yeah, the fish love him.
And I was just like, wow. And then headline after headline after headline after headline of, you know, Pete's associated with an anti-vaxxer. And then a month later, COVID rears its head. And then I was like, okay, well, this is interesting. And now, without COVID, I don't think Robert would be in the position he's in, which is head of Health and Human Services in the United States, which is overseeing 3 different departments. What is it? The FDA, the CDC, NIH, whatever, you know, those 3-letter agencies are. And, you know, I send him a text every week just going, fuck, mate, like...
Dude.
Like,
oh, yeah.
Full respect.
Yeah, man.
Full respect, brother.
Yeah.
And I just released a book with Children's Health Defence earlier this year called Healthy Food for Healthy Kids. And I've got another one coming out. This is the first time I've spoken about publicly, but I've got a Maha cookbook coming out in the United States, the Maha cookbook, in November this year. And Bobby introduced me to the publisher, Tony Lyons from Skyhorse Publishing. Tony published Robert Kennedy's book on Anthony Fauci, which he hasn't been sued for, which sold
why not?
Over 1 million copies.
I wonder why not.
Exactly. And yeah, I think people like Bobby Kennedy are just remarkable people that no doubt feel very grounded in the turbulence. And I look up to those people that can stand their ground and not get vicious or retaliatory, if that's the right word, or vindictive in the face of that, and not become the victim of that. Because that's what I think a lot of people would like, is for them to feel the pain, so to speak. And I think that potentially really rubs some people up the wrong way, because they're still strong.
Yeah.
They're still themselves,
Yeah.
and they're still moving forward. So I think that can be, because I've thought about it a lot, why potentially am I such a polarizing figure? You know? And it's like, well, perhaps because I haven't run away and become the victim or lashed out and retaliated or disappeared. And I'm just still, I'm still the kid that grew up here in Melbourne, the young surfer on the Gold Coast. Like, that's who I still believe I am, you know, with a few more learnings that I've accumulated and remembrances along the way of who I am. Because I think a lot of people's deep fear is to be judged by other people. I know it's a fact. You know, one of the greatest fears, apart from death, is public speaking. And public speaking is not about public speaking. It's about being judged by other people.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I had that so much through COVID. People would send me messages saying, "Thank you for speaking up. I wish I could." And I would write back, "Why can't you?" "I'm too fearful of upsetting people." I'm like, "Okay, well, sweet. You know, you do you."
Yeah.
You know? And I'll do me.
Yeah.
And when you do not hold that fear of being judged by anybody, that can be a mirror for people that fear being judged by others. And it can make potentially them more upset at you. It's like, how? if I was judged by somebody, I wouldn't be able to leave the house.
Yeah.
What would it take for this guy to shut up or disappear or hurt him? And it definitely isn't from what people write or, you know, a headline in the newspaper or comments on social media saying you're a whack job. Or
Do you get that much just when you're walking around town? Like, what's that? I know you said, during that first cooking display, you had that lady just without prompt come up to you. And...
No, that is, to be honest with you, that's probably the only real sort of face-to-face interaction of negativity that I've ever had.
Yeah.
And
even with journalists and things like that, or is that like a different category?
Well, I don't really sit with journalists, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I've sat with a few over the years, but especially over the last 5 years.
Yeah, for sure.
For me, there's not really any point in... I mean, I sat opposite Liz Hayes for the 60 Minutes interview during COVID, and it was probably around June or July or August before the vaccines were rolled out. And they were doing a special on 60 Minutes about COVID conspiracy theorists. I discussed it with my wife, and we decided, she said, whatever you think is best. If you're comfortable doing it, do it. If you're not, don't do it. And I decided to do it because I wanted to see, again, can I sit opposite a senior reporter for 60 Minutes where I know the editing and the agenda will not be favourable to me. What will that feel like to step into the so-called lion's den?
Yeah.
Can I sit in there opposite just to have that experience? And it was wonderful. So Liz came up to our property, and I did it under the proviso that I could film the whole interview and release it at the same time. I might have told you this on the last podcast. Release it at exactly the same time that it goes to air on 60 Minutes on my Facebook when I had a Facebook page. And I had 1.75 million followers on Facebook. And funnily enough, when I released it, it was seen more times, more viewers on my Facebook and social media than it was on Channel 9 with their audience and ratings. So the people got to see a 90-minute unedited real-life interview with mainstream media, and then they could see the 10-minute edited agenda-driven version. And that was one of the reasons that I agreed to do it, just to show people how that system works. But the other one was purely from a selfish reason. Can I sit in there and, going back to what this conversation's about, can I stay neutral and grounded? So when Liz came over that morning, I did breath work, and my wife made a beautiful cup of tea for me, and I took my shoes off and I sat on my little stool barefoot, sat opposite Liz, and for the couple of minutes before the interview started, I was just sitting there, just being in my space, just looking at Liz.
Yeah.
And when they said record and she looked at me, without any disrespect to Liz, she's a veteran, wonderful interviewer, but I knew who was the most uncomfortable in that situation, and I wasn't uncomfortable because I looked straight into her eyes, and I knew there and then. I was like, yeah, this is exactly where I'm meant to be, doing what I'm meant to be doing, and I know the outcome will be a lot of the Australian public will view me as a nut job or a crackpot or dangerous. But at that moment I was like, it doesn't matter.
That's cool.
It doesn't matter, because I'm happy to show up as myself without fear of judgment. And what was so wonderful about this, and I didn't do it for this outcome, but the amount of emails that I got from people and messages and random people on the street that said, I got to show my mother or my father or my husband or my wife or my children the long edited version of the interview and show them the propaganda piece.
Yeah.
They said they couldn't believe how they made you look in the edit compared to what you actually were saying in the conversation. I was like, great, fantastic.
That's what we're going
like,
for.
Sweet.
Yeah.
No, like, and I don't do it for that outcome, but I also know the ripple effect it can have.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is like coming here to have a chat today.
So
it's
good,
like,
man. I appreciate you doing
it felt
it too.
right for me to do that. It felt right for me to do this.
Yeah.
When it doesn't feel right for me to do something, and it could be timing, it could be just not the right resonance for me at that particular time. So I'll never say never to anybody, but if it doesn't feel right, I'm like, okay, the timing's out.
Yeah, man.
Right.
Yeah.
I'd love to do it, but not now.
Yeah.
And so I think that is, we haven't spoken about that, but that's a huge one for me is, you know, I don't want to get woo-woo, but following your gut instinct or your intuition and trusting that you have control over all of your choices in life. And because people say, do you regret speaking out? I'm like, no, I don't regret anything, because I made the choice to do so. And if I perceived it as, like you said before with OSHA, that would I approach it differently next time? That was what that was about. Yeah. Potentially.
Yeah.
You know, you go, okay, well, next time if that arises, maybe I'll go this path. And that's the same thing for me. You know, if another pandemic comes, I get to have free will of, would I speak out again or would I not? And I would listen to my gut or my instinct and make the decision from that, not from what other people expect me to do.
Yeah, man.
Because I know a lot of people would expect me to speak out. I'm like, maybe I would, maybe I don't know. Yeah. Maybe I'll never get the opportunity for that to happen again. I don't know.
It's cool, man. No, it's awesome.
But I will only do the things that I feel I can learn and grow from.
I appreciate you coming here, man.
Yeah, sweet,
Thanks
mate.
a lot. I got one eye on the clock, and I'm thinking about Beck, and I'm hoping she gets paid well enough, but I don't want to chew into her time too much. I'll take you if you got 15 minutes or something. I'll show you this Terra Madre shop.
Mate, I'd love to.
It's good. I was walking. I got these drinks for us before, and I was walking around, and I was like, I feel like with your eyes, you'll appreciate it more than me because they got plenty of fresh, organic, good food, meat, veggies, fruit, whatever.
Terra Madre, so that must mean earth.
I actually should look it up. I've been going there for years, and I don't know. They've just recently opened, or maybe 12 or 18 months ago, they opened this shop. They had one in Northcote, which we used to always go to. It's honestly, every time I'm in town, I go home with boxes of food.
I'm going to do Google Terra Madre meaning. Sorry.
No, Google it. It'd actually be helpful to know. We've got to find out. We can't cut.
Terra Madre is an Italian and Spanish term that translates to Mother Earth or Motherland.
There we go.
There we go.
Sweet.
I like it.
Pete, thanks a lot, man. Appreciate you coming on.
Mate, thank you, and thanks everybody. If I said anything that doesn't resonate, fantastic. If it resonates with you deeply, fantastic too. But yeah, stoked to be here, and thanks for the invitation.
Awesome, brother. I'll cut that off, man. That was great.
Awesome.
I love the in-person vibe so much better. I feel like thanks, Beck.
That's all right. So what you do...
Yeah. Oh, yes. Teach me. Were you out there the whole time?
Yeah.
Oh, you poor thing.
Oh, no. I've got some other things to do too. So if you hit...